All right. We are live. I got my buddy Mark McDonough from the Mark McDonough team. It's so awesome to have you on, brother. We've
Thanks,
had
man. I
plenty
know
of
we're going down the road to YouTube together.
plenty of good conversations. I remember when, I wasn't doing much on YouTube and I'd, guest appear on your channel talking shop. And I think, like we chatted a little bit about earlier, it's just good to have these open and honest conversations, because I know that somebody who's actively in real estate every day, like you are, someone who's actively in mortgage every day, we're having conversations. We can see and feel the trends, and we can see and feel the buyer sentiment, seller sentiment, all that before it hits any sort of mainstream media, before articles get written about it. And so just sharing this information and having an open, honest discussion, me and you, and then whoever wants to join and ask questions, is straight to the source. So I'm excited to have you. I want to do you justice with a proper introduction. If you do not know about Mark and his channel, check out Mark McDonough team, Sacramento Real Estate. Well, the thing I love about it is I think about somebody who's moving to the Sacramento and surrounding area. You don't have to, search around on different websites and find out about Curtis Park or downtown or Rockland or Roseville or whatever. Just go onto Mark's channel. He's got a video made for every single neighborhood you could think of. If you're thinking about moving into Natomas, check out his Natomas video. Think about Elk Grove, check out Elk Grove. And I really think you do a good job with that. And I'm digging the videos, man. So keep up the good work.
Thanks, man. I try my best. I mean, the thing is, it's hard sometimes because you want to generalize the whole real estate market and talk about like how to get a guy in a contract in 3 ways or this or that or this. But like I learned earlier on when I was doing my channel, it's like Sacramento is where I'm at. Sacramento is, and for me, I tell everyone straight up, I'm like, I'm a realtor. My channel is meant to educate people and to get them in the Sacramento market or make them feel comfortable about moving here. Myself, I don't have really any aspirations of being like a YouTube guy or YouTuber only. Like I love real estate. I love the whole concept of it. I love handing people keys their first time home. I love getting people out of situations that they might not be able to get into. I love real estate. If this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life, I'm super excited. Like I just love it. So,
right. Yeah. There's something really satisfying about being in a position where something that you can share that knowledge with other people. And I know for me, besides the people I get to talk to every day, and it's, a couple dozen a day sometimes, everybody gets to interact with on YouTube is just an extension of the network where it's like, hey, I'm checking out this. And I don't care if you're in Texas or Florida or New York and I can't serve you because I'm only licensed in California. I'm happy to give advice. And it just brings me so much joy to have somebody, thank you so much, that was so helpful. Or, hey, I watched this video, it was so helpful. Because I can make a video on how to escrow accounts work, and that thing lives on forever. Anybody who's ever thought, like, how the heck do escrow accounts work? I had that conversation with 40 clients and then made a video and probably have educated 1,000 people who I know, because I've got the feedback. Thank you, Matt. This was explained well. And I now know that. So we can talk about all kinds of different stuff and happy to go in whatever direction you want. I think what most people probably want to hear us talk about is what the heck is going on and what do we think is coming in the future. And I think specifically what is interesting to me is to just kind of take some guesses or how we feel about, are we going to see some more inventory? Is it going to get easier for buyers? Because right now, anybody who's watching, who's actively involved looking to purchase a house, not just in Sacramento and surrounding, but most areas of the country, it's hard. There's limited inventory. And I've pulled up stats before, and I've got some stuff that we might pull up later where, our market, Sacramento, like if you take all the counties combined, I think it's like still less than 1 month of inventory. Sacramento specific is like 0.4 months. There's next to nothing on the market. There's a lot of people that want to buy. So I guess my question to you is, what do you see? Because you're talking to sellers, you're talking to buyers and sellers on the real estate side. Do you think that we might possibly have March, April, May, June, spring market where we can see a bunch of more listings hit the market?
We might, and it all depends on interest rates for the most part. I think sellers might get a little nervous about waiting so long to put their house on the market and not taking advantage of the seller's market. I know we have a listing coming up right now, and the sellers are super excited about putting their house on the market as soon as possible. I think that's going to play into it. I do think one of the things that happened to me last week that was very interesting is that I do a lot of new home stuff, and a lot of the new home builders that I work with had called me up. I mean, 3 of them like almost on the same day. It was like last Thursday, and they're like, yeah, we had some people drop out. So if you have anyone looking for new homes, these are the models we have. That never happens. That absolutely never happens.
I was going to say right now, it's probably very, very rare.
But it's happening now. And it's like crazy. I'm like, okay, seriously? I'm like, yeah. I mean, we're talking about some of the most like hard to get into communities had called me up specifically. Because the thing is, like, our team, we always had, here's the thing we did early on, because we knew this new home thing was going to be crazy. We got all the new home salespeople, we have their cell phones. We don't even call directly to them. We call their cell phones. So we're texting them going boom, boom, and they're texting us right away. So for us, we always have the know what's happening in Sacramento as far as the new home stuff. We know it before anyone else does.
Yeah.
Shout out to my buddy Shig over at Folsom Farms, Shannon Beazer. Like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, for the first time though in a long time, I wasn't the one calling them and asking them about availabilities. It was more like they were texting me saying, floor plan 3, we've got that available if you got anyone looking, or, is this client who was waiting this and this. So it was interesting. That's the first time that's happened to us in a long, long time. And, we put like 4 people in contract this weekend, and it was basically because availability just started to pop up, which is something that, like I said, it's triggered by the interest rates.
Yeah, so that was going to be my follow-up question. Did they tell you why those ones fell out?
People are getting nervous. The sentiment for people right now is they're getting nervous. It's either they're nervous that they feel that they need to jump on something right now. They're nervous that they're still not going to get anything. They're just nervous in place. I mean, you know how it is. Like, and I know the Zoom thing, the COVID thing, and everyone's at home and still, but like the mindset of people is usually the springtime, summertime is when people move. That's just how it is. So people are thinking to themselves too, hey, we were planning on moving in spring or summer. We need to get a jump there. Oh God, interest rates just increased. What does that mean to me right now? Because I mean, for a lot of people, they've got to understand that, summertime and springtime, this is our cold season right here. It's the end of our cold season, but it still is our cold season. So come spring, come summer, it will be crazy. And I think interest rates are just completely baffling people right now. They're completely confusing people. A lot of people are thinking, a lot of people are waiting too, oh, they're going to get back down to 2.6. Yeah, I'll just wait. I'll wait it out. And I'm thinking,
I guess it is a pretty rate sensitive market. And it's funny for me because I had the same reaction that a lot of people had probably. And then I stepped back and I kind of checked myself and I said, listen, Pat, like, go from 2.6 to 3. Not that big of a deal, still historically low and stuff, but people were so spoiled, so used to that low rate that they got, I had people that were looking to buy, and as home prices were going up, they were getting a little discouraged, but I said, oh, well, we looked back in July, now it's November, and rates have gone from 2.8 to 2.6. So you can offer another 20,000, still the same payment. Okay, cool. And as the home prices going up and rates going down, trend continued. People were like, okay, I can basically buy the same house, even if it went up in price because my interest rate's lower. And so that initial shock of like, oh shit, prices are going up and rates are going up, could be a tough pill for some folks to swallow. But that's interesting to know that some of that stuff has fallen out. Let me see. I got a question here. I'll pop up on the screen for you. We got Mark. Do you have any recommendations for a realtor in Maryland familiar with VA loan purchases? Thanks in advance and looking forward to the live chat.
I would probably say we have a realtor that I work with, Michael Mayo, who's like familiar with that area as well. He's really good, top producer. He's really, really good. He's not Caldwell, so Caldwell don't hate me, but Century 21. So Michael's a good guy. Hit me down below and I'll give you his phone number. He's really a good guy. Man, he is a grinder. And I'll tell you something, there is a difference between a grinder and a hustler. Hustler kind of works with the market a little bit. A grinder, doesn't matter if it's a good market, a bad market, whatever, they stick to the table. They don't hit the vacations in Jamaica too much or whatever. They're grinding it out. And Michael is just that. So I would definitely say Michael Mayo.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. And this is a market. Me and you've had this conversation that it's a whole new beast. It's different. You got to have a lender who's savvy. You've got to have a real estate agent who's grinding, like you said, and you've got to pull out all the stops. I'd be interested to hear, because you've got realtor connections in different parts of the country. Do you have conversations with them about, what offers look like and what it's like in different markets? And my guess is that it's a lot of the same stuff we're seeing. What have you heard?
A lot of contingency offers that we run, which I deal with like a lot of it. And we just brought someone in from Morgan Hills to Roseville, and it's kind of the same stuff you're seeing here. I mean, all the markets are a little bit like, it's just the inventory super low. The thing that Sacramento has that we should be very grateful of is that we have a lot of land, which means that we can build. A lot of places in the country can't build. A lot of places like, New Jersey or whatnot, they can't really build. So we're lucky enough to get a little bit of a breathing space as far as it, because we can build. Last year, that helped us out tremendously. This year, builds, you get a new home 2022, but like for the most part, the new home building really, really helped the Sacramento market. Other markets weren't so lucky. They didn't have a lot of space to build in and they suffered from it. So, I'd say everyone's suffering right now from low inventory, but like I said, Sacramento's doing, it's crazy market. We are the number one real estate market on realtor.com for 2021, which is great. But, we got growing pains too. I mean, now the new home builders are like, a lot of them, they stopped building. They did a huge price increase, which I think might have hurt them a little bit. And then all of a sudden they're waiting to build more and more and more. But you can only build so many houses so fast. So it's just very, very interesting. But I will say straight up though, that the new building has helped Sacramento to kind of breathe. Can you imagine if we didn't have the new homes in this market?
Well, I was going to say, like, we're already as stressed as we are and seeing year-over-year appreciation that's wild, and home, it's going well above ask and all this competition. If we didn't have, the new builds, the thousands of new builds, then we'd be in an even worse shape. That leads into something you probably know better than most because you work with all these new home builders. I heard it from somebody who's on my team who lives in Nevada, who told me about home builders going from, hey, Mark, you like this house? It's 536. Sign your name. You're on the list. It's going to be done in June, and you pay 536 to, hey, we're going to open up for offers, and the offers start at this. And when I first heard that, I thought to myself, wow, it's one, smart of the builders, but two, crazy that people kind of fled the resale market because it was like, I don't want to compete against 25 people and keep bidding up houses until I pay 440 for something that was listed at 390. So the new builders who used to be the sure thing, like I know what price I'm paying, now start doing this offer thing. Then I heard about it from somebody who was in Arizona or something. So is that something that's happening in Sacramento and surrounding?
Yeah, some like Lennar, I think DR Horton did that as well. But here's the thing about the market in general is the market has a lot of stupid in the market. And no offense on that, but like the new home companies right now are taking advantage of the market, right? Mm-hmm. They just are. And they go too far where the market switches. All of a sudden, they're like, they're begging the realtors to bring clients in, or they've get this like bad kind of like look, and then they want to kind of revamp it when the market switches. And it's not really like they're not future-proofing themselves in a way, right? They're becoming the bad guys in the market. They don't need to do a lot of things that they're doing right now. But they're going to be greedy and take every single penny they possibly can in this market. And in the long run, it's going to leave a bad taste in people's mouths. And when the market settles down and it switches around, people are going to remember this, and then it's going to go back. And this is what I see in real estate in general. It's like people, just are so greedy about stuff. They just grab, or they, give bad customer service, or they forget about this stuff. And then once it turns, then they're the first person like, oh, hey, sorry, I didn't mean to treat you that bad, but like, are we still buddies? And it's like, come on, man, seriously, like how greedy do you have to be in this market? I mean, it's a tough market. Buyers are already stressed out as it is. A lot of the buyers just want a nice home to be treated like decently. And like a lot of these builders right now, and it's not the builder salespeople too. The salespeople only do what the builder tells them to do. But like a lot of these companies out there are just every little possible dime they can take out of it. And it's just, I don't know. People aren't going to forget this.
Yeah, I know for sure that builders are the enemy of lenders because of how they've treated lenders, and they've got, I understand it from a business perspective, that you're a builder and you own the mortgage company, you own the title company, all that. But they've really shunned outside mortgage folks. And maybe it's partly justified because they want to make sure the loan's going to close. But they sure as heck don't have raving fans on the mortgage side that are going to be bringing them buyers, because they know once their buyers get into that system that is a new build system, they're going to be, pounded to death with, you have to use our preferred lender. And, no matter if it's a lower cost or if it's better for them, or no matter what, they're trying to get that. Because like you said, I think they're trying to squeeze every last dime out of it. Is that because lumber cost is so high? They've got to pay for increase in lumber. So they squeeze it out of every buyer.
Look, I don't know, but it's just crazy. I mean, some of the companies like own their own title companies, own their own. It's just out of control. I mean, I always tell my clients the same thing. I'm like, no matter who you go to buy a home with, they're going to have you qualify through their lender, and their lender is going to make it as enticing as possible for you. I'm like, honestly, $5,000 incentive might be okay, but you got to factor out how much you can save going with someone else. I'm always like that. And also, one thing that never really gets checked is title companies. You can also save money by going to another title company with some builders as well. And, that's legal, just no one ever asks about it. So there's a lot of these weird little nooks and crannies about new homes that, it is a little bit of a, there are things about it I would change. But then again, like right now, the thing that stinks is how I look at it is that, in the market that comes, there is going to be a reckoning. And I got to say, the one word, the reckoning that I'm going to say to everyone right now, that's going to happen sometime later this year. You heard it right here. Appraisals. People don't think you can get a low appraisal on a new house. Yeah, you can. You can get an appraisal.
Yeah, I've heard that start to become an issue already, where new builds are being bid up and then they're having appraisal issues.
Yeah. So that's crazy because people assume they won't. Appraisal is something that's never really discussed too much. Like, no one who goes in for a new home says, "Hey, I love my new home," and all this kind of stuff. Is there anything about the appraisal? Will it appraise? That's never mentioned.
So what happens? Yeah, this is something that I'm not familiar with, so it's cool for me to be able to ask this to you. So is there anything about the appraised value in the contract? Does the buyer who's buying at $675 have to write in the contract that they're willing to pay if it appraises below?
At times, yeah. And at times, actually, my buddy Jacob Garcia ran into that problem last year with one of the builders. And actually what ended up happening is the buyers had to pony up the difference.
That's interesting because, yeah, me and you both know, and anybody who's been offering houses know that, you buy a resale house, it's more than likely, if it's a decent house in a decent neighborhood, you're going to have to offer well above what it's listed at. You're going to have, at the very least, you're willing to cover a gap, 20, 30, 40,000. Most of the offers I'm seeing now, they just say, we're waiving the appraisal altogether. I had an agent submit one today. It was something like, I guess it was about 10% above list price because it was 380 to 420-ish. And, I don't think they had anything in there for the appraisal. And I thought to myself, well, that was a good practice offer because, totally. There's just, no doubt we're going to have offers that were put in that are waiving that and giving the sellers that peace of mind. But, I don't know.
But at least they know. Like, at least like as a realtor, you go into a contract with someone, or you're writing up an offer and you're like, do you want to waive the appraisal contingency? You do a little bit of a CMA. You give them an idea of exactly what they're in for. You give them all the basically cons on doing it. You say, hey, look, let's not just waive it. Let's maybe do a $10,000 cap. What are you comfortable with? What do you have in the bank? Do you know what I mean? Like, imagine waiting a year to get your house. Interest rates bouncing up and down. You don't even know. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, you're not thinking appraisal. So you're loading up on upgrades. Hey, I want that. I want this. I want this. And you're just thinking to yourself, appraisal? I mean, I don't even know. I mean, I'm sure it is. I mean, it's beautiful. Of course, they can appraise. Yeah. And then at the end of the day, they go to the checkout counter and they're like, yeah, that house that's like, you're paying $700 for it. It appraised at $650. And of course the buyer goes, yeah, hey, so what does that mean? That means you got to come up with $50,000 unless, or you don't get the house. And then if you don't get the house because you loaded up on upgrades, you got to at least pay half that. So it's like, it's something people need to be aware of. And I think at the end of this year, as appraisals were a big deal last year in resale, I think in this year, we're going to see new homes hit that appraisal thing. It's going to become a big issue with new homes. And I think that people need to be aware of that. Like, just because you buy a home doesn't mean a new home doesn't mean it's going to appraise. So just be really, really careful about that.
Yeah, I think it's great insight because you can see it coming. You're in the market. You're talking to buyers every day. You know a lot about new home builds. I somewhere on record 2 months ago, I was talking to people and I started to see 6, 9, 12 months out for builds being done. And I said something along the lines of, what's going to happen to these people when rates tick up, if they tick up, right? I'm not going to pretend like I knew that rates were going to tick up in February of 2021, but I thought that thought, and I know I said it out loud on at least a couple different occasions. And lo and behold, like you're seeing fallout with new builds. What happens for somebody right now who's like, it's due to be done December of 2021 and they're 9 months out. They can't lock their rate. If rates go from 3.1 to 4.1 and they're buying a $600,000 house, they're going to have a hard time qualifying. Even if they qualify, maybe they get that far and they're like, you know what? I know I had $10,000 earnest money deposit, but I don't want to pay an extra $500 a month or whatever that math works out to, right? That would be something that would really change that dynamic. And like you said, the builders who are in this massive position of strength, being in a super sellers market, you can call it a sellers market, the super sellers market.
Oh yeah.
They all of a sudden might be hitting you up, Mark, and saying, hey, we got 7 homes that fell out these last 2 days. You got any buyers that want to come and buy these? And then we'll see.
And yes, we do, because truthfully, the truth of the matter is we've actually already compiled lists of people who are ready to jump in as well too. So like, I knew that this was going to happen. I knew that you always kind of know. It's like in real estate, a lot of people just assume that things are going to be good and continue to be good. You know what I mean? But it's just not that way. So I kind of felt the fact that like appraisals were going to be an issue. I felt the fact that the new home companies were all of a sudden, we're seeing the most aggressive increases that we've ever seen in the new home market. I mean, we're talking like a new release, $10,000 more, new release, $15,000 more. It's nuts. So I knew something was going to happen. So for us, a lot of people were like, waiting. And like I said, a lot of times, even for companies like Woodside Homes, Taylor, or whoever, like they'll get interest lists, right? So these interest lists aren't really like you're waiting for that call to happen. You're waiting for someone to call you up and say, hey, lot 55 is open. These are the floor plans you can get. These are the elevations you can get, and you're good to go. So a lot of people are waiting for those calls. And so we just kind of monitor it for our clients to make sure that, that they're in pole position for any of the places they want. But I'm assuming, yes, later on this summer, even though we're going to have a little bit of a rush come in as well for the summertime, I have a feeling that a lot of these new homes, it's not going to be good. Not only that, imagine this too. It's like, you've been waiting for a new house, your house, you have your wife, your kids, and you're saying to yourself, I'm so excited. I have this house I've been waiting
for. Get out the finishes.
Oh my God, it's so gorgeous. And then you look at your house and then they say, you know what? It didn't appraise, or something happened, the loan fell through and you don't get your house. It's like you've been waiting, like 9 months to a year for a house. So something's got to give in the market. And I see something bad happening with the new homes coming up. And as much as people want to say, oh, it's going to keep going, clearly it's not. I mean, interest rates are rising. Things are somewhat falling out a little bit. There's a taste of it. There's not a whole bunch of it, but there's a taste of it going around. But yeah, it's an interesting market. I mean, right now it's super interesting,
Yeah. Here, I'm going to share this because I don't claim to be an expert, but it's interesting to me that this is inventory for Sacramento. And even though we're in this crazy, COVID time from March of 20 to now, you still see it's clear there's seasonality. Like it's a lot more listings in the summer, and then it bottoms out December every single year. And so, December of 19, 1292, and then you go 2100, 2,500, 2,700. And then obviously this is a different year because it's COVID. But now, we see the bottom in December of 2020 was actually higher than the low inventory we had in December 19th. And then if we pop off of this bottom and people are vaccinated and people aren't so scared of losing their homes, I think, can I zoom in on this? Control, maybe I can't when I'm streaming it. I was going to try to make it bigger. I'm an eternal optimist, Mark. So my thought is like, maybe we see this big jump March, April, May, we've got 4,000 listings. It's not enough to satisfy the crazy demand we have, but my hope is that it's at least enough to say, I know you've been looking at houses and you've been going up against 15 and 20 offers. It's going to feel like a breeze when you're going up against 4 and 5 offers because there's, double the inventory and things are a little bit less wild than they are now. So I don't know. I just thought this was something cool to look at. Have you ever been on this St. Louis Fed website with all these stats?
No. I usually go to our Placer County and use their stats. This is interesting.
Okay. Yeah. It's got all kinds of stuff in here. I'm going to stop sharing.
Here's the thing and I'll tell sellers in general, like looking into the camera, interest rates are still low right now. Like as interest rates rise, you will get less for your house. You'll get less offers. So if I was a seller and I was even thinking about selling a house right now or selling my house, I would do it now. We don't know what it's going to be like in the future. And if you want to take advantage of this super seller on steroid market right now, this is when you sell your house. This is when you do it. You don't do it maybe in October or November if the rates go over 4 and you say to yourself, "Oh, here you're going to get it," but there won't be enough people who can qualify to buy your house as crazy it is now. So if I was a seller and I was even thinking about selling my house, I would put it on the market as soon as possible before there's any more shift. And all of a sudden you've lost this pocket of a super seller's market. That would just be my 2 cents. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I agree with you because it's human psychology and it fascinates me, right? Where people who had huge benefit from refinancing, you told them it's a great time to refinance. It's really good. And 2.8%, 2.7%, 2.6%. Hey guys, I don't know how long it's going to be 2.6. I don't know, what the future holds. But I know right now it's a great time. You're at a 4.25. You're going to save $450 a month. People see the downtrend and they just get greedy probably. And it's like, if it went from where it went to 2.6, maybe it goes down to 2.2. And I made some funny videos on like these people that had waited 10 months to refinance and how much they've spent in those 10 months. Even if they didn't catch the bottom, they'd be better off, right? And so now here we are, and that same person that got 2.6 is 3% or 3.1. It's going to be the same thing with sellers, like you said, where you can sell your house for $550. You never thought it'd be worth that much, but the human psychology says, well, it went from $450 to $550 in the last 3 years. I'm going to wait 2 more years. It's going to go to $625, and then I'm going to sell it. Well, like you said, if rates go up, buyer demand comes down, whatever happens, more listings. And so there's more people to compete with. You go from 550 down to 490. Now you're like, oh gosh, I wish I would have sold at 550 when Mark told me to. Here's the follow-up $1 million question to you, Mark. I can sell my house for a premium right now. Where the heck am I going to go?
Yeah, you have to be strategic about that. Do you know what I mean? You have to be very, very strategic. If you're going to be selling somewhere, I would say you have to have like I said, for me, like I said this maybe a couple of years ago, I was like, look, working with a active realtor, full-time realtor is what you need. Part-time realtors, it just doesn't work in that market 2 years ago. Now I'm going to tell you, like I've adopted, like I have an assistant. I have 5 people who are working stuff for me as well. Like you have to have a team of people who are like aggressively looking at the market for you. If you're going to make a jump, you got to be ready with a team that's ready to help you make that jump. Getting offers, talk to agents in local areas that might be having stuff come up for sale. You have to analyze the market. You have to do the flyer thing. You have to do whatever you can do to actually get someone in. But it can work. I mean, our team we've been 80% about getting people in houses. And, but another thing too that we do with people as well is we give them realistic expectations as well. And that's something that I think a lot of people aren't doing right now. We're saying, look, if you do sell your house, you'll make this much on it. And if you jump into something and they'll tell us where they're looking for and everything, this is how much you're going to be paying for it based on exactly the comps and what people have been paying and everything. And you're going to probably need to have a little money to like for that appraisal cushion too. So you have to be realistic with a person too. Like it can happen, but it's kind of like the seesaw effect, right? You have to kind of get off at the right time and get on. You know what I mean? It has to balance out perfectly. It can happen, but you definitely need like a team of people kind of looking out for you.
Right.
You can't just like, you know, hey, I'm going to give it a shot and see what happens. I mean, that's just not the market we live in. Like, it's like you have to be kind of like in there and living in the moment. You know, like I tell people, I'm like, honestly, 7 a.m, coffee, MLS, looking, click, call my client, you know, hey, I know it's early. I found something. Let's go see it tomorrow. Or they're like, and of course, joking, but you know what I mean? Like you have to just be there, grabbing it, jumping there, do whatever you can to jump on the things, be aggressive. That's the way you're going to get what you want in the market, selling and buying. I just did it with a couple who actually moved into Roseville. They sold their house in Morgan Hill. We got them in. It's on Derby, if anyone wants to check Zillow. And we got them in, and we actually paid less for the house than it was listed at. But it was because we saw the house had been sitting for a little bit. And we saw that the activity was they were in contract, out of contract, but we jumped on it right away. And we got a contingent offer accepted in this market, which is insane. But we did that.
Right. Yeah.
So there is, I mean, you just have to be aggressive. You have to be out there doing your due diligence, you know, and the truth is, as you know, mortgage professionals, realtors, title people, everyone underneath the sun that's associated with real estate is doing very, very well, right? This isn't the time to leave to Jamaica. This is the time to sit down and work hard for your clients, get them taken care of, because there's a lot going on in the market right now. So this isn't the time to head out on vacation. You know that.
Oh yeah. You don't see the bags under my eyes?
Totally. Mine too. Yeah.
Only 40 years old, and you know, I've aged at least 10 years in the last 2 years of this bull run in real estate and mortgage. But yeah, we're having a good time, and it's cool to talk to real estate agents who are out there, because you know I'm in my office, especially over the last year with COVID, and I'm just, you know, analyzing numbers and trying to put together, you know, strategies and game plans. And here's what 5% down looks like. Here's what 10% down looks like. If you net this much from your sale, you can put down this and pay off all your debts. And so you're out there actually grinding the real estate side, and it's fun. That's the fun part, man. I get to do all the, you know, nitty gritty work with that. You get to see the fun and exciting real estate and do all the fun stuff. But you brought up something that I want to touch on, because it's important. Anybody who's watching, and a lot of people who are thinking about buying real estate, they're asking like, where can I find a deal, or where can I actually get an offer accepted? Because I'm not having any luck. You basically said it. There's still diamonds in the rough. And if you're willing to not buy the prettiest house on the block, or you're willing to buy something that for whatever reason has sat for 22 days. It might be mispriced. It might be that it's got carpet that's dirty and nasty. I saw a listing like that recently. Whatever it is, you know, you can still get in there, and, you know, you don't have to compete against 20 offers. That's the nice stuff on the best street in the best neighborhood with the best schools and all that. You know, if you're a first time buyer and you're, you know, I talk to plenty of people who are 32 and they're like, I'm not going to live in this house forever, but I want to buy a house I've been wanting to buy. What's some advice that you have, and maybe some things you've seen to enter into real estate if you are not a buyer that says, I need this to check off all 14 boxes, I need to be the perfect house? What might be a strategy there to get you into something?
See stuff that's been on the market a little bit longer. You know what I mean? Like stuff that's been on the market for maybe longer than 3 weeks. You know, probably work with an active realtor. I would say also, like, you know, go local with a lender. You know, I always say this, and I stick by this. I always tell clients, go local. I'll tell you why. Like, let's say, for example, you went with Matt, and Matt got you pre-qualified and you're good to go. And like, I put in an offer for a house, let's say in Rockland, and Matt made the phone call to the realtor who's a listing agent. I guarantee you, by 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, Matt will know the realtor, and Matt will say, hey, Jim, you know, we worked a deal 2 years ago. He'll say, oh yeah, that's right. He's like, you saw what I did for you then, you know what I'll do for you now. These clients are awesome. If you have any problems, you can call me directly. We can make this happen. Like, that's huge in this market. And people are always thinking, oh, this rate, this, or look, the truth is local lenders, they don't get enough pats on the back, but the truth is local lenders can make or break a deal. Because if Matt knows a listing agent and he can basically vouch for my clients because he's done his due diligence, that listing agent is going to say, hey, you know what? Matt, worked with him before. He's solid. He tells me these people are solid. I'm going to close for my clients. Let's go to work. It's huge. Work with local.
That was the paid advertisement, but
No.
send me your Venmo, text it to me. I'll pay you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah. And that's the thing too, in this market, is like any advantage you can get. I put out a video recently on the importance of a buyer's agents. People don't understand that, when you're working in a competitive environment like this, everything's important. The way that your offer is structured and how much you're putting down and what lender you're using, and your agent's communication skills. An agent who, listen to this, Mark, and I'm interested to hear your feedback on this. As a mortgage guy, I'm just fascinated by like real estate agents and how it all works. And so I've got some ideas in my head where I just guess, and in my head, in a environment this competitive, I assume that every realtor does what the realtors I work with do. Put together an amazing offer after talking to the agent and saying, hey, your client needs 21 days of rent back. Cool. We'll write that in the offer. They want to be able to actually close the deal in 19 days or 24 days or whatever. Cool. In the offer. They want a higher earnest money deposit because that makes them feel the warm and fuzzies. Cool. In the offer. Here's the price sheet, whatever it is, right? And then submit the offer, CC the lender, have the lender call. Yeah, I'm a local guy. Oh yeah. I work with so-and-so and so-and-so in your office, all that stuff. Then I talk to real estate agents and they're like, oh yeah, we, on the list side, see about 30 to 40% of agents actually reach out to us. The rest just send in blind offers. I mean, how crazy is that? What have you seen on your listings? If you think back on your last like 2 or 3 listings, as far as like how many buyers agents you actually had a conversation with who dug in a little bit before writing and sending an offer?
Yeah, people just throw blank offers at you. People call up and all of a sudden they're asking weird. There are questions that like buyers agents ask that like you already kind of know they're going in with a lowball offer. You know what I mean? Oh, I did this, I saw this, or this and this, and you're like, oh God, seriously, okay. So I mean, the trick is also you need to kind of develop rapport with the listing agent on the other side. We're all human. We're all trying to get to the end zone together. So it's like, buyer for me, on our listings, when people call up, it's just, with the people who call up and develop rapport, I love working with them because I know that the communication is going to be kind of solid going down the road, which is really, really good. The ones that don't pick up the phone for me, the ones that like don't have their lender reach out to me, I like to know that a deal is going to close for my client. You know what I mean? Even if it's even lower than the highest offer, if it's someone who has good communications, it's like a lender that's local that I verified that's good to go. Everything checks out. And they're like, my clients really want the house. Oh, by the way, you can't send out those PDF like love letters from clients anymore too, because that's you can't do that anymore too. Did you know that? I've
heard some rumblings about that. Have they officially said like no more?
Well, I think everyone's kind of staying away from that. So
because it opens you up to discrimination or something.
Yeah. So
okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it kind of, I don't know. I mean, I think as far as like a buyer and a seller, if the real estate agents were away from it and the buyer and seller could communicate, that's what they would tell them. So I think there it is liability wise. I do understand why that's out of the thing, but I think there should be a human element of the real estate transaction. We've seen this house, we love this house, this kind of thing. I think the human element is what I love about real estate. Right. It's kind of a shame that there's no way we can do it. Yeah. I do get it though.
It's kind of cool when you hear the stories too, where somebody's selling a house and they want to put great people in there. They're going to be great neighbors to the neighbors they've been neighbors with for 30 years. And they truly care about what they're leaving behind. And money is not the most important thing. It's not even, close to the most important thing. You can't discriminate and choose. I mean, I don't know, as a seller, you kind of can sell the house to whoever the heck you want, right? But I guess real estate agents got to be protective on they're not discriminating. It's a slippery slope, I guess.
It definitely is. But I mean, getting back to your question though, like for me, whenever like I'm submitting an offer for someone, it's so funny because you talk to a lot of listing agents. First of all, honestly, one of the things that pisses me off in a market like this is a listing agent that won't pick up the phone, won't reply to texts or anything. somehow, the thing in real estate, and this is one of my big pet peeves of real estate, it's like, here's the thing. I get listings, I get buyers. I don't care. You know what I mean? Whoever my client is, I really work hard for and like just do my thing. And so is my team. But there are some agents out there. Oh my God. It feels like they need a gold star because they're a listing agent. It's like, no. I'm not a buyer's agent. I'm a listing agent. Oh my God, seriously. It's like, come on, give me that stuff. And you see a lot of that stuff in this market too. Listing agents are kind of like not responding, not doing their thing and everything.
Yeah.
There are some amazing listing agents out there and realtors in general. The one I did with Derby, Victoria, she was a rock star. I loved her. I mean, working with her was great. We had a rapport. We were joking around and everything, and it was good because we both knew that what was best for our clients was to close this deal and to make it happen. And so we worked as a team to kind of get it done. Where you have other listing agents who are very abrasive and they don't make the transaction flow the way it could flow. You'll still get the same result, but they just don't make it flow the same way they do. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Like when I first got into real estate, like I was working with this one listing agent. He was a top producer and all this kind of stuff. Oh my God, I swear to God, that guy told me he was a top producer about maybe 30 times every single day. Like I mean, he needed like a little like tattoo on his forehead, top producer.
Yeah, just change his middle name.
Oh yeah, it was just absolutely insane. And it's like his whole thing was like, being abrasive. His whole thing was, I'm going to steamroll that person. I'm steamrolling them. And I'm like, man, it's like at the end of the day, I mean, there were more things that screwed up in his transactions. And the result was the same as if you're running it with kind of thinking to yourself, look, we're all trying to get to the finish line. Let's do it. Let's make it work for everyone. And honestly, in real estate, it's not like a weird concept or a foreign concept.
Right.
Seller wants to sell, buyer wants to buy. I mean, it's just the same kind of thing. But people have this weird, I mean, it's like someone saw like LA Law too much or whatever. And it's just like,
they see $1 million listing and they think everything's got a big battle. And I've had this conversations before too. And we did a real estate like mastermind with our regional SAR meeting that we held back when people used to be able to get together. And the thing that I touched on was real estate transactions can be so smooth when it's like list agent, buy agent, mortgage professional's team, and the title company and everyone who's involved there. We're all working together. We want to get the seller their house sold. They want to get the buyer the house that they're trying to buy. And like everyone's got the same goal. Why would we ever like be argumentative or be at each other? And I've had plenty of deals where it's kind of funny to see if things go sideways at all. It's like a huge deal. And all of a sudden it's like, we're on different teams. It's like, no, the appraisal came in $5,000 light. Let's figure out a way to make it work out. And let's figure out a way to make it to where the list side or the seller is happy. The buyer's happy. Nobody feels like, they got shorted or it's a big deal, because it doesn't have to be. And it's crazy how the professionals involved in the transaction can either make that smooth, easy, and not a big deal, or the ones that want to, put a line in the sand and fight over $1,000, make everyone miserable. And it's like, okay, you got your client an extra $1,000, but they like felt like, they were doing something wrong or part of some epic battle. It's wild. I'm going to post this question up here because I saw it and I wanted to get to it. Thanks, Mail Cold, for the question and for joining us tonight. Could the two of you describe the process of rate comparisons, i.e. bank versus credit union versus broker? Do we have to simultaneously submit an app for all three to ensure accuracy? This is one that I made a video on recently because I think for whatever reason, people make it harder on themselves than they have to. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is that you're more than welcome to talk to me, talk to a credit union, talk to a bank. Realize that rates change every single day. So if you talk to a credit union on February 7th, and then you talk to me on February 28th, and you're like, oh, Matt is a quarter higher. Well, you're not comparing apples to apples. This is what I tell buyers to do. And I made a video on this recently. If you're going to compare and rate shop and try to figure out who your lender is, first and foremost, do it well before you're buying. Do not do it once your offer is accepted, because appraisals are taking a long time. Lenders are busier than ever and slower than ever. So doing that to yourself and putting yourself in a corner where it's like you got to pick somebody the next 24 hours, you're going to pick the biggest liar, somebody who's not going to be able to perform, you're going to hurt yourself more than you're going to help yourself. So go and do whatever research you want to do. Talk to a local broker like myself that somebody recommended, the bank where you bank at if you want, you like them and you're comfortable with them, or a credit union that your next door neighbor used and they thought that the credit union was great. Get some answers to certain questions. One is rate and cost, and that's important. I understand it's important to everybody. But two is how fast can they close, and what the process is like. Because unfortunately, if you're in a market like this one and you've got to offer a 25-day close, you can cross credit union off. You can cross bank off. They just can't do it. Then you're down to broker or direct lender. And I'm not going to argue who's the better person to get a loan with. I've got plenty of friends who are direct lenders that are great. I got plenty of friends who are brokers that are great. I tend to think that the broker channel, with the flexibility and able to place different borrowers and different programs and with different lenders, is what I prefer. But the main thing is you work with somebody who knows what they're doing, they get the transaction closed. That's number one. And then two, when you're comparing pricing, compare it on the same day and compare the same things. Because all too often it's, oh, I got this sheet where all in the total costs were $8,984. And then over here, total costs were $8,346. 8,300 is less. Well, if 8,300 shorted what was going into the property tax, homeowners insurance, and the prepaid escrow account just to make their offer look better, but then the loan costs specifically were higher, then they're more expensive. I don't know. I might have totally flubbed that, but the good news is you can go to my channel. And I think I have one about comparing loan estimates. I've got at least 3 or 4 videos on how to compare things apples to apples, because me as a mortgage professional looking at some of that stuff, Mark, I get confused looking at it. I couldn't tell you which one's better, because they present it in different formats. They lie, cheat, and steal when it comes to how much you're going to actually pay and prepaid property taxes. I've had so many where people go, "Hey, look, this is so much. This is $3,000 better than what you showed me, Matt." And I look at it and I go, "Oh, so you're not paying tax and insurance through the loan?" "Oh yeah, I wanted to do that." "Oh, they left it blank." So you saved $3,000 on theirs, but $4,500 of the escrows that we're paying up front are not included. So if you include that, now you're $1,500 worse.
I like it.
Yeah.
If you missed that, just rewind a little bit.
I talk fast, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, did I explain that?
But here's the thing. I've got to ask you something, Matt. And this is going to be something that if you have watched this video to this point, this is going to be right now the Cracker Jack prize. I called this thing maybe about a week and a half ago. I did a video. This is going to be the year of knowing when to lock your rate. There is too much fluctuations happening with interest rates. I want to know, Matt, I want to hit some of these questions that I'm sure a lot of people want to know. One is if you lock your rate, do you have to keep it locked? Who can lock a rate? When to know when to lock your rate, all that stuff. Because for me, I'm thinking with this fluctuation with interest rates, tell us about this, because I want to know straight up.
Right. For people who are buying, I've basically been in this lock bias mode since we've had volatility. And everybody does it different. There's certain circumstances where I've got people that went into contract in January that weren't closed until March 15th. And so, a 60-day lock is more expensive. And so we said, as long as rates stay flat, the 45-day than the 30-day are going to be cheaper, because the longer your lock period, the more expensive it is. So if rates stay the same, but you're now 15 days closer or 30 days closer to close, you get a better rate, you get better terms. So I guess it's very scenario specific, but if you are in a position where you got into contract and you're set to close 26 days later, I'm just going to lock you on a 30-day and say, hey, listen, I'll give you the option, obviously, but everybody I've talked to who's gotten a contract over these last 3 weeks, I go, it's volatile. We know what we're getting if we lock today. I would lock if I was you. What do you want to do? Okay, we'll lock. If it gets slightly better, oh, well, we locked in at 3.06 and you could have got 3.04. But, that's kind of what happens. There's extreme scenarios where we go from 3.05 down to 2.8, and the lender will allow you to relock that at the lower price, but it's almost impossible. I just tell people, like, don't bank on that. Don't bank on some huge rate drop. It's just not going to happen. I don't want people to get their hopes up by like, oh yeah, I'll be able to get that one-time free float down, or that new rate lock, because a lock is a lock for a reason. It's certainty. And you're basically saying, I'm good with this. I'm going to lock it. I don't have to worry about it. And everybody's biggest fear is like, but what if rates go down? Well, you're protecting yourself against them going up. If they go down slightly, then they went down slightly, but you're locked at whatever you lock at. So there's so much that I probably won't even get into when you're on a refinance and you've got to, subordinate a solar lien, or you got to subordinate a second, and we're waiting for weeks and freaking months sometimes to get some of that stuff back, where we don't lock right away, or we get an appraisal back, or we get an approval back, or we get that subordination timeline dialed in before we lock. But yeah, you're right. It's definitely something to keep in mind. And to be completely honest, this last little surprise we had in February, where rates went up more dramatically than they've gone up since, I think people pointed back to the 2016 election. There was volatility around that, and there was a big jump in rates. I basically, on about 15 loans, said, hey, Mark, this loan got worse for you by about $2,500 in cost. I'm going to eat it. And the reason I'm eating it is because I'm not just, worry about how much I'm gonna make on this specific transaction, but all your friends and your family. And I don't control the market. And I wish I would have caught it beforehand, but, it got worse by $2,500. And, I'm willing to eat that for all the future business you're going to send me. And honestly, it's been great for me because, I wrote a bunch of checks and I made it up, in some circumstances too, where it was totally beyond my control. We couldn't have locked because we had a 22-day lock on a certain program, and people were 3 days in on a loan that for sure, based on the circumstances, wasn't going to close in 22 days. But I did that just because anybody who works with me knows, I protect my reputation at all costs. Yeah. Everybody who ever calls me and wants advice, and I give them advice and they don't know whether or not they should trust me. I haven't built a business like I've built with all the good online reviews and the stellar online reputation to start screwing people over now. I'll give you guys all a heads up when I'm going to be moving to Mexico and cutting the cord and not doing mortgage. And maybe then, I'll break a promise or two. But for now, I'm just doing right by everybody that I come in contact with.
Well, the other thing too is, when you do YouTube, people know where to find you. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing that I always tell, I was talking to my wife, I'm like, the thing for me is everything I do is the way I am. You know what I mean? You're on an open platform right here. So if you do have someone who is not happy, they know where to find you. And that's one of the things that I was, that's before I even started doing YouTube videos, I knew that that's how I rolled. And that's, I'm good with it. I'm good with what I've done, and I feel good about the deals that I've done. Feel great about the people I've worked with. So for me, it's yeah, totally with you. Same thing. It's
right. Yeah. That's the thing too about, using a local lender. When you get into contract and you've talked to somebody, and this is a lesson for everybody, because I've had it happen to too many clients and it's frustrating. The scenario I talked about where you wait until you're in contract to start shopping lenders, you call 3 or 4 people, and one guy's, 2.8, one guy's 2.85, somebody's 3%, and then somebody tells you 2.625. You're like, oh my gosh, this is great. 2.625. Okay, I'm going to work with you. Let's go. Get into contract, order the appraisal, submit everything, approval back. You're 3 weeks in, you're 4 days from closing, and the guy goes, oh, we had to repull your credit, Mark, because that's just something we do. And it actually came back at 739. We had you initially set up with a 752. And so pricing changed a little bit. It got $7,500 worse. And you're like, what the heck? Little makeup, we got to pull credit again, and BS like that is 100% just like a dude. I overpromised you the 2.625 in the beginning. Now I'm backtracking. Now here's the problem. You chose the dude with the 2.625. He's been licensed for 6 months, or he works for out of state company where he's just smiling and dialing, and he literally has no online presence, no reputation to protect. You give him a bad review or you're upset about it, you still have to close the deal because you're 3 days from closing. Your wife loves the house. You can't back out. You're too far in. That guy doesn't care. He's smiling and dialing. He gets his business from the 100 phone calls a day. Somebody like me or your local lender who, you see posted on Facebook, or you see like your neighbors were happy because they used that local lender that they used. That person is getting 90% of their business from referrals, from the community, from people that like and trust them. And they are not going to pull that same maneuver that person online pulled. And I've heard that story so many times, Mark, that it makes my blood boil. So I have to try to educate people and protect them from it. If you're doing that at the last minute and you hear something that's like, wow, that sounds almost too good to be true. One, it probably is. And two, if the person has nothing at stake, like a reputation or online presence, like you might get, wamboozled.
Yeah.
So
and again, it goes back to local. You know what I mean? Like I said, I think when someone has a strong presence in their local market, like you do, great reputation, everything, other realtors, like Sacramento, as much as it's a large place, there's definitely different areas, Elk Grove, Rockland, everything. Everyone knows each other for the most part. You know what I mean? Everyone knows that stuff. So also when you're choosing a lender local and you see good reviews, everyone kind of knows who, like they're good people. They're good people to work with. Like for you, like you've earned your kind of like your the way you are here too. So people know what's up. So like I said, they'll know where to find you.
Hopefully. Yeah. I can't remember the story that I told, but it was probably a year and a half ago. What happened with Open Door? Was it Open Door or one of those big, it was during COVID. They had a bunch of like sales in process where they basically backed out. Maybe it wasn't, what was the one that was buying homes? Was it Open Door?
I think it was Open Door. Yeah.
And I told people the same story about real estate agents. Like Mark, who's got a great reputation in this community, he's not going to let a deal fall apart. But Open Door was like this big company where they were like, oh yeah, COVID hit, we got some uncertainty. Nah, we ain't buying it no more. And basically backed out of like hundreds of purchases.
Yeah.
And it's surprising that didn't get more publicity, because I remember that happening and like reading the stories of all these people that were like, I lost the house I was going to buy because they were going to buy my house and close on it in 10 days like they promised so I could buy that one. And they just backed out. They just said, nah, we're not doing it no more.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see. That's a whole nother podcast, a whole nother YouTube live where we talk about like the future of real estate and technology and mortgage, and
it's going to be crazy. I mean, everyone says realtors are an endangered species and all that kind of fun stuff. I don't know. The market's crazy. Real estate in general is always changing. It just is the nature of life in general, a business. Everything's changing. Like that's why we do YouTube, because it's changing. You have to adapt to what's out there. Like I was telling Matt, I was like, like the market right now is different than it was, completely different than what it was or how than it ever has been. I mean, because of the way technology advances our industry, it's not the same marketplace as maybe someone who's been in real estate and made their bones 10 years ago. Like it's a different market. There's different ways to kind of get yourself going in real estate. I always tell people too in real estate, when, the younger crowd, the 20 somethings, I'm like, you guys love taking photos of yourselves and taking videos, but like, then all of a sudden you jump in and do your 100 calls a day. Like you were told by someone who'd been doing that like 20 years ago. It's like, you love yourselves. You're taking your selfies and you're doing this stuff, and you're going to throw that aside to do like the 100 calls a day that worked for someone like 10 years ago. It's like not really understanding what you're not getting here. It's like, the tools, your superpowers, their social media. Like, that's what, my kids, I'm like, just understand that like your superpowers are social media. If you can use the video aspect, the photo aspect, the networking aspect that you have right now to do real estate, you're going to go to a whole new level. The age of like 100 calls a day, door knocking, flyering, as we've seen with COVID, all that kind of stuff is something that still works, but can be, can be crushed by someone who has a strong Instagram presence and can just DM 100 people a day. Hey, I got a house. Here you go. Boom, boom, boom. That's the future. So our market is crazy. It's going to be fun to see where this thing all develops, and like your channel, I can't wait to see what it looks like in a year. I mean, it's going to be completely crazy because that guy drops more videos than anyone I've ever seen. Every time I go to YouTube, it's like new video on this. I'm like, it's crazy. But
I started sprinkling a couple more. I told myself I promised 3 a week, and then I sprinkled in a fourth here and there. So I got 4 or 5 going. You can't say more than anybody because I'm nowhere near the Meet Kevin level of like, does the guy ever sleep, or does he just post videos like 16 hours a day and take like meal breaks? And
I think here's the thing for someone like him, someone like at the level where you're already seeing like the fruits of your labor, right? You're already seeing the revenue from YouTube and sponsorships and everything that's coming in the door. I think once you start realizing the fact that this is like a full-time thing, that you can do this and make money full-time, once the revenue is so at a certain level that you say like, even if I don't do real estate, I'm still making a lot of money and you can see it, then all of a sudden you see the fruits of your labor pay off. Do you know what I mean? Like all of a sudden it's like, like you mentioned, like Javier too. It's like, it's the same kind of thing. It's like, I'm doing this, I get followers. Last month I made 20 grand. Okay. So if I do twice as many videos, then I'll make 40 grand. Interesting. So now I'm sitting at home playing with cameras, making cool things happen and talking about all this stuff. I've got my formula down pat. So I'm good.
People probably forget that me, Kevin, ever did real estate. Like, oh, that guy used to be real estate. I thought he was a stock in a news channel.
I know. I mean, and he was smart though. I mean, the Meet Kevin thing was smart because what he did was early on, he had that "Don't Sue Me" thing about Grant Cardone. And he grabbed onto that and he pulled him up to another level, and it worked. And all of a sudden, boom, and then he's doing a car rides with Graham Stephan and everything.
Sweet. Mail Cold has a question about VA offers and people are reluctant to accept a VA offer. Any tips on how to overcome the reluctance?
I just closed 2 VA deals, I think in the last 4 months. And for the most part, the first one, how we did it was that we kind of took care of all the VA stuff, like the dry rot and everything prior to getting in there. Like you have to have sort of an understanding with the listing agent that there's got to be a path on how you're going to close it, right? Like, and that's the biggest trick with VA deals. There has to be a path that you and the listing agent are on the same page with as far as getting it closed. And so both times, and we just closed one right now, and it's in Rancho on Oakton. So we just closed that thing a little while ago, like about a week and a half ago. But the main trick on this one, and it wasn't a trick, it was that I got on the same page with the listing agent, and I had a clear plan of attack on how we were going to approach all the issues that might come up with the VA deal. We're not talking these deals that I closed weren't easy deals to close. They were deals that other realtors had actually told my clients that like, yeah, I'm not going to take a VA deal. They're not going to take it. But because my team put together a plan of action, we got it done. Ways to get past, not ways to, but like how we're going to address the pest issues, the appraisals, unpermitted spaces, all that kind of stuff. Like we had a plan of attack on each one so that when the listing agent sat down and read all this stuff, it made sense to him. We explained every little facet of how we were going to get it done. Like I said, for anyone who's suffering from the VA stuff, hit me offline. I'll show you the deals we closed. I'll show you exactly the blueprint of how we were able to get VA deals done. And here's the thing, like listing agents in general are kind of like apprehensive on it because they know there's a lot of like, there's a lot more inspections. There's a lot more like red tape to jump through. But if there's a clear path on how you're going to get through all that, and it's clear, concise, accurate based on timelines and milestones, you can definitely do it. Like I said, I'm not just blowing smoke. Like last 4 months, close 2 of them. So they're not that hard if you have the right plan in front of you and the listing agent, and you both are on the same page. So that's my word of advice on that.
Good, solid advice. Yeah. I mean, I basically, like we talked about earlier, a listing agent's obligation to their client or their duty to their client is I'm going to get this deal closed and get my client paid. And if you've got, an offer that is a competitive offer and you've got an agent who is going to be easy to work with, and communicating, and pre-approved with a lender who's trustworthy, it's going to close. All that stuff is just lending to it, whether it's VA, FHA, conventional. And I'm sure there's, for anybody watching who's involved in the market, truth be told, you've got a cash offer, you're at the top of the pile. You've got a conventional offer, and you've got this huge gap in the appraisal. You're probably sitting closer to the top of the pile. You've got FHA or VA. It's going to be harder, but it doesn't make it impossible. And Mark's proof of that. Closed a few of them, and it's just a matter of putting your best foot forward and presenting an offer. Which, unfortunately, going back to my earlier thing about only 25 to 30% of agents actually reaching out to the list side, like, people aren't doing that. That's why I wish that video I made would have got more traction about like the importance of a buyer's agent. If you're buying in 2021, it is so important that you work with a really good buyer's agent. I'll take myself out of the equation. No matter what lender you're working with, if you have a buyer's agent that's not presenting good quality offers and hasn't got enough industry knowledge to know what a good offer is, and hasn't done the research or talked to list side about the offer, you got no chance. I mean, you're just out there practicing. You're not going to get in the game. So I want to respect your time, man. I know I said an hour.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, one more thing before I get off that.
Yeah.
The first one that we did, I think we closed that one early December. The clients that I worked with actually told me that a couple weeks before, they'd showed the house to a realtor, and the realtor said, there is no way in hell they will get a VA deal accepted on this house. They didn't even submit or anything, or even walk in the house. They basically told my clients, no way it will ever happen. And so I looked at it. I'm like, yeah, we'll make it happen. And we made it happen. And it's like, you got to try for your clients. Go out there. I mean, realtors in general, because the market's so busy, they just want easy money. I mean, come on, give me a break. I mean, everyone, and we got it. And it was the exact house. And it was for my Greek family out there. If they're watching this video, you know what I'm talking about. But like, it was awesome, and like they got exactly what they wanted. Mid-century modern, great location, fantastic. We got it done for them. And so you got to try for your clients.
Good stuff, man. Keep up the good work, dude. I'm going to end this thing here, but if you've made it this far, I appreciate you listening. If you listen to this on the replay, me and Mark both are happy to help. We'll put your contact information. I think we got your YouTube channel in the description, but if you want to add any contact info or something for you, if somebody's looking for real estate in the Sacramento area, what's the best way to reach you?
Go to YouTube and either type in Elk Grove or type in Natomas or type in Sacramento Real Estate, Sacramento Realtor, and you'll see me pop up.
You'll see Mark McDonough team, Sacramento Real Estate. He's got all kinds of cool videos, got all his information in there. You can reach out to him and say, hey, I'm moving into California. I like high taxes. I'm willing to put up with those high taxes and all the craziness of California because I love the sun. You know what's funny, Mark? For everybody who's listening across the country who thinks that I'm in some cold climate, I'm in Sacramento, California. It's mid-50s today, but I still wear this jacket because for a Californian mid-50s, I was on a call with somebody in Idaho earlier, and he's like, oh, it's 30, but it's sunny outside. It's like a lake day.
I'm with you. When the winds pick up here, I'm putting my jacket on and I'm freezing. So we're a little spoiled.
Yeah, I'll write my check to the tax man for this weather. I'm just going to put up with it. So thanks again for joining me, brother. I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. And anybody out there who wants to get a hold of me, anything mortgage related, California, I can lend in. Outside of California, I can refer you to a great broker, Matt, M-A-T-T, at mattthemortgageguy.com. Thanks for watching.
Wait, actually, one more thing. If you want to ask Matt specific questions to do videos on, he is one of those people who like releases videos a lot. So if you have any questions or stuff that he hasn't done videos on, hit in the comments below. Let him know exactly what you want him to do videos on. Matt is one of the coolest people on YouTube. And not only that, he really listens to the audience. So if you have a question about something, write it down in the comment section. And I guarantee you within 6 hours, Matt will have a video out.
Let's not start writing checks Matt can't cash. But yeah, today's video was an example. I did mortgage recast because people asked about mortgage recast. I don't know how many people that will get to, how many people that will help. But it was a specific question from somebody who follows the channel and comments. So I hope that information reaches you, whoever the heck you were. I remember at least a couple questions on mortgage recast. So it's out there. Thanks again, Mark.